What's up, DawgNation? It is another Wednesday night live Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. Right up there. I think the blue Kroger logo matches with our special guest tonight. You guys are reading it across it. If you guys are following us on YouTube or Facebook or also on the DawgNation homepage, I'm going to say welcome to everybody because, Reformation Logistics, that's the first one here. Guys, like we do it, this is a time of year we start bringing in a lot of the commitments, a lot of the recent commitments. And although this is a commitment, it's a recent commitment, he's a recent recommitment. You guys know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Big Bear Alexander. Big Bear Alexander is joining us from IMG Academy. Look at this, man. This is a professional Zoom dude. We've got him on Restream tonight. He's got the light. He's got his perfect setup. He's got his IMG. He's got his necklace. And we don't have to come up with a funny joke to get him to smile. Big Bear is always smiling. Mr. Alexander, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good, man. So let's talk about, I guess, the news of your week. And I think it was a pretty cool thing. The news of your week is you got honored as an All-American, an Under Armour All-American. What was that like for you? I think they must have handed the jerseys out to about 7 or 8 of your teammates at the same time. But what was that like for you? That has to be a special career milestone for you.
I mean, it was crazy. You got me and several other teammates that has all been on this journey since we was kids. So to see everyone get the jersey and it be presented to us, I mean, it was a crazy feeling because everybody been working so hard since youth.
What goes through your mind when you hold that jersey? Do you think about little kid watching the game, or do you think about all the hard work, or what goes through your mind?
I mean, I think about the hard work, like blood, sweat, and tears definitely went into it. And with it being announced and being televised on ESPN, man, it's crazy.
So, Bear, I think you've been a dog again for about a month now, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. What's that been like, man? Is it almost like you never left the doghouse? What's that like?
Yeah, it's like I never left the doghouse. Like I was still on the leash, I would say. So, like you say, being a dog again, it's been a good feeling.
Bear, what goes through your mind when you watch this football team play on Saturdays? I know you try to catch a lot of the games when you can. I know you've been to a couple of their games this year. What goes through your mind watching this defense this year?
I mean, we're going to be good for a very, very long time, no matter what changes. Like they say, coaches may change, but scheme doesn't. So, like this Georgia defense and what's instilled into us, we're going to be great for a very long time. So I can only envision myself out there and seeing he got all 11 hats fly around and week to week. It's crazy. I feel like they're going to win it all too.
I know a lot of people are, they read the stories, they see the videos, but they also like to catch you live. And guys, start dropping your comments. We want to get you guys the chance to talk to Bear as much as possible tonight. You got a nice comment, anything interesting, we'll make sure. And I'll play point guard and I'll start feeding that question to Bear. But Bear, when did you know that you had to be a dog again? Was there a moment when like the lightning bolt hit you? I know you kind of always felt maybe you would always come back to Georgia. But when did you know for real that you had to be a dog again? Was it a couple of moments? Was it something specific? What comes to mind on that question?
Honestly, Jeff, like I was ruled ineligible in Texas. So with me having to transition and come all the way to IMG, like it was hurtful. I felt like my state had turned their back on me, and for me to have another opportunity and for those guys to still recruit me and still make it feel like home, like let me lock in with them now. So that has kind of like drawn it up real fast.
Mm-hmm. Bear, can you put into words how much getting to play a senior year at IMG has meant to you this fall?
It meant a lot. Like a lot of guys took this year off. I mean, I'm one of those that's not going. I'm not gonna miss a rep or a beat. So it meant a lot, like being able to at least get something out of the game. Like
it's pretty funny. I was around the IMG program for a couple of days last month, and it was pretty cool because Aluba flips to Georgia from Florida State. I believe it was on a Monday. And then Mr. Ba told me the next day at practice, he's lining up against you. And he's like, all right, now, come on, Bear, slide on over, slide on over, slide on over. And then like 2 days later, it was Michael Williams, and then it was you. I mean, what's it like? I mean, there's a lot of potential future dogs and already dogs there on that IMG team. What's that like over there competing against them?
I mean, we just added another corner recently, and with Lewis, I tell Lou every day, you get this for 3 years straight, whether you like it or not. So we get a chance to make each other better, and like you said, slide over. So every day we go at it. We just got through going at it this morning. Like nothing is going to change. That's my.
What do you think? What do you think Georgia fans need to know about Big Lou? I mean, that's a guy. Lots of guys don't. The 3-star offensive lineman folks don't get excited about, but I think those are the type of people that win or lose football games. What can Georgia fans expect out of that guy?
Lou is a monster, but Lou's also Lou a good person. Like he take care of everyone that's around him. He's a leader. He's vocal. He's funny. Like he's always got in a locker room that's keeping the energy up, man. Also, Lou is an artist. Like he can rap. So wow. I'm listening to his music pregame on my off time. Yeah.
So Bear, I'm gonna let the questions kind of flow in here right now. This is one we've seen a couple of times. I know you're on social media a little bit. Have you seen that audio or heard that audio of Kirby Smart at halftime? Have you heard that audio yet of the Florida game? You have not heard that. So it's funny. There's some person in America here, Big Bear Alexander, that has not heard that halftime speech at halftime of the Florida game. Let me just say, Bear, it would fire you up. I think that's very clear to say. He talks about what he wanted the guys to do. He wanted them to not say anything, not talk any junk, look at the scoreboard. He used some colorful language in the middle of all that, like football coaches are known to do. But that's funny. Now you're going to be like, Jeff, let me go find this on you. Let me go find this on Twitter. But it's definitely some must-see audio, must-listen to audio. Everybody's wanting me to play the clip for you so they can see the reaction.
Yeah, you got the clip.
We got a family Before the Hedges show. We're brought to you by Kroger. We cannot put that live on the air right now, but I'm sure you'll find. I mean,
it's crazy. I worked at Kroger.
Did you?
Yes, sir.
What'd you do? Were you a stock boy, bag boy? What did you do? Did you carry the pallets in on your?
I did online groceries, so I had to pick orders for the customers, then take it to them.
Better than this is funny. So we brought up the audio, that audio clip, and this one lady here, one nice lady says, Christy, she says, I'm a female. I heard that and I wanted to clothesline someone. It was very inspirational, Bear. He wants us to play BA. He wants us to play BA's edited version. Man, these people are going crazy. I don't know if you can see this, but this technology. We've got a thing where you can read all the comments on the side, and people were going crazy. Bear, I think a question we've gotten a lot is people want to know: is there a guy that you're recruiting? Is there a guy you want to see join the program? Who's on Big Bear's Christmas list for the Georgia 2022 class?
Kamari Wilson and Evan Stewart
Evan Stewart. Now that's a name Humphrey's gotten everybody involved with, right? I mean, Evan's the playmaking wide receiver out of the 5-star out of Texas. Mm-hmm. Another kid from Texas. What do you know about Evan?
We was texting early on, I think last summer. So I reached out to him, I think yesterday afternoon. Just sent him the dog emojis, waiting on the spark back.
Some questions here. Steve Bryant, I like this question. I don't even know the answer to this one, Bear, and I probably asked you as many questions as anybody. Steve Bryant wants to know, do you love soul food? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love soul food.
What kind of soul food do you like? Is it what's got to be on the plate? Is it cornbread? Is it green beans? Is it
cornbread, mac and cheese, barbecue chicken, East Texas hot links, of course.
Oh wow. Jerry Swafford, he likes that. He says he loves that these recruits are recruiting for the program. I tell you what, Coop had a pretty cool tweet out. He said the young bulls are doing the work. He just kind of wind them up and let them go. So it's really about dogs want to play with dogs. Is that basically the motivation there?
Definitely, like the recruiting class is on fire right now. Georgia is on it. Like we're coming into the number one defense. So and Coop's on the roll. Like Coach Coop fired up every morning. Yeah.
Bear, these guys are funny. They're sitting there like, I'll tell my grandma to mute the show for a minute. They want to hear the clip. They want to hear the clip. Hey, maybe if Michael's got the edited version, maybe if he's got the edited version from BA's show, maybe one of our other shows. Everybody's talking about soul food. Bear, somebody asked this question earlier. They wanted to know, have you mutilated anybody yet on the offensive line yet? Have you dug any graves for any would-be offensive linemen that tried to get in your way? Have you had any one of those highlight decleaters on anybody yet, or throwing guys aside?
That St. Thomas More game, yeah. Definitely this game this week, St. Francis. I'm going off.
Bear, everybody likes your personality. That's the thing they always remember. They always remember from the last video. What's the excitement level like right now? Because you're about to finish your high school career at ING, and then it's on to Georgia. What's that transition like for you right now?
I mean, it's sad to say, like it's no excitement. Like it's sad but it's gonna be an exciting journey. So I'm ready to see what the future holds, and we almost at the finish line. It's a marathon.
There, Javier Barnes has a question. He wants to know if you're excited to put on that 99, and what does that mean to you, getting to wear the 99 right after Jordan Davis at Georgia?
I mean, that means more than anything. Like I'm stepping into a fire, so I'm more than equipped to go ahead and do the job, and I mean it means a lot. Played the edited version at church last Sunday.
I mean, it's funny. I'm going to make sure that, somebody's quoting it now. They're going bleep, 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 Florida, bleep, 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 Florida, bleep, Florida. Is there something that you think that Trey Scott has said to you about your game that you want to work on to get better at once you arrive in Athens?
Like pass rush, like getting better at pass rush. Like I'm more of a violent power and speed. Like that's all I know. Like just to get past this guy. He's bigger than me. He's slower than me. Get past that guy. So of course, developing more counter moves off my pass rush.
Joel Moody has a comment. He says Bear is down like James Brown. Lots of people. Everybody's asking about the beard, Bear. They want to know, like, if you had to be clean shaven for, I don't know, whatever reason, an NIL commercial tomorrow, and then you had to grow it back, how quickly could you grow that beard back, my friend?
That probably takes some time. Nah, not that long. It'll start filling in probably that week or that next day.
And the story about the 8th grade, I still love that story. Like you had a principal, right? And they were basically like, man, what's going on? You already look like, I mean, you had the beard in the 8th grade. Is that correct? Does everybody remember that?
His name, Mr. Thompson. Like, God kept my nose clean. And I mean, he was just doing what basically was in the best interest of me. Like telling me, hey, let's cut it. This is a better look. It makes you look more younger and marketable. I still went with it.
Christy wants to know. Christy just says savage beard. Everybody's dropping the emojis in the comment section. But here's what we're doing right now. This is everybody that's commenting off the homepage, commenting off YouTube, and commenting off Facebook at the same time. They just kind of scroll there, kind of like an Instagram live was as well. One thing we want to do, folks, this is the Big Bear. I think he's going to be incredibly marketable because of that personality, the natural charisma he has. But if you want to follow him on Twitter, this is the first thing we're going to do. At Bear Alexander _. You see that big 99 with the Big Bear atop of his Twitter page, you know you got the right spot. Also, follow him on IG, the famous Big Bear. Again, he's got the big 99 there as well. Bear, I want to know, Official visit. Have you planned that yet? Have you locked it in yet? When are you going to take your official?
I think December 12th.
Is that the one right before the early signing period?
Yes, sir.
Josh the Prophet says, I loved him when he first committed and love him more now. Jerry Swafford's got 2 fists. He's like, I've already been following Big Bear. People are calling you. They're saying, we're going to need you, dog. This man's going to ball. Jeremy says, Jeff, y'all need to give the NIL Bear and give him a show on his own. We'll work on it. Maybe why not? Ernie Tilley calls him the Big Bear, Bearded Bear. Let's Go Brandon has a question. He wants to know, I don't know if you can go or not. Do you plan to be back do you plan to go to the SEC championship game? Can you do that, or are you planning on that, or what's that look like for you?
I plan to be in attendance.
You do, huh?
Yes, sir.
We want to know, a couple of folks have asked this, I think I see it. Is there a guy that when you watch Georgia's defense play, do you pattern yourself after? I know a lot of people would probably say Jordan, but I'm one of the guys that I don't know if you're a natural 2-gap tackle. I don't know if automatically Jordan is the name I would go to. What's the name that you go to about a guy that might play the way you do in Athens?
I would say Jalen Carter and Devontae Wiley. Those 2 guys I idolize them. And Devontae is violent. Jalen Carter is athletic to be that big. Like looping all the way to the C gap, standing up, rushing. Like he's a 3rd and 4th down player. I am a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down player.
Mm-hmm. Blair Davis has a good question. I'm sure you've got a perfect answer for this. Bear, he just wants to know, who was your mentor? And I know the answer to this answer to the question for you is probably 19 levels above a mentor, but who's that fellow that's made that big difference in your life?
It's my dad. Like my dad / coach. Like he was able to step in and we was able to hit the ground running and make me the man I am today.
Bear, do you have a favorite subject in school? That's one question that's popped up. What's your favorite subject? What's your favorite class?
It's crazy. It's math.
Is it really?
Math and media.
You can count up all those sacks and TFLs really well with that. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want people to know this because I don't think they know this. All they know is that they keep saying IMG is a Georgia pipeline. Guys like Warren Brinson went there. Nolan Smith went there. Isaac Nauta back in the day went to IMG. Marlon Dean, a lot of guys, Lavassier Carroll, now Big Bear Alexander, potentially a Kamari Wilson. What's the typical day at IMG like? Because I bet people wouldn't really wrap their brains around what your practice schedules and actually looks like at IMG.
Do not let it fool you. These palm trees and this beautiful campus, do not let it fool you. It's work. It's a business. We are after every day. We wake up at 6 a.m., meetings at 7 o'clock, practice, treatment, school at 1:20, and that's pretty much your whole day. Like you have no time. So that's why when I get time to rest, I'm sleeping. But that's 100% grind.
And your practices are normally in the morning, right?
Yes, sir.
That's kind of weird. You get your practice grind on, and then do you lift at some point of the day after your classes, or where does that fit in?
After practice, Mondays and Wednesdays.
I like this, Bear. Greg Rosenberg has one. He wants to know, he has a math problem for you. Oh, man, they're scrolling so fast, I got to keep up with it. Greg, give me that question one more time because I want to see it. But he's got a math problem, and he's like, Bear, if you're approaching a quarterback at 20 miles an hour and he stops and sees you and freezes in fear, how many ribs are you going to break on that quarterback? I think that's it. I think that's sort of like that.
Every one of them.
Every one of them. That's about right. Let's do this. For folks, everybody's, they want to know, and I think Kamari's been a huge target for Georgia for some time, but you've played with him now for 4 or 5 games. What does the world need to know about the type of player Kamari is, potentially could be a fit at Georgia? Just what kind of guys he like on the field? What's he like to play with?
That man is an animal. Like Kamari is the true definition of a dog. When I say gonna smack you at 100 miles per hour, that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna cover. He's gonna be a leader. Yeah, dog.
I've seen this question a couple times. I don't know the answer to this one either. Bear, they want to know if you're a wrestling fan. Have you ever watched any wrestling?
WWE.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
When I finally figured out, and I didn't figure out till like a couple years ago that they wasn't really hitting each other like that. That's when I stopped watching it.
Yeah, it was more acting and entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's the normal stuff. You can see it there. Welcome. Big Bear, how do you think you look in that red and black, man?
Like it was meant to be.
I saw this question. They want to know what it was like riding in Gunner's boat. They want to know, did you water ski? Did you wakeboard? Did you get on the jet ski? What did you do?
I was scared because I can't swim. So if I fall in that water, it's pretty much over. They made me feel comfortable. And, I mean, it was crazy just being with an elite quarterback and being able to talk and bond and just talk some ball.
What was Gunner like in that setting, Bear? What kind of dude is he?
Good person, like checks on everybody. Like I say, he was grilling, like he was actually on the grill making the burgers, seasoning them, like he know what he doing. Jumping, like he's fun. He's serious when he's serious.
Does he grill like an All-American or a 5-star quarterback?
Yeah, he was flipping it into everything.
And I'm sure he could do all the tricks on the water, right? He could wakeboard and all that stuff, jump off the porch.
He jumped from, I want to say, 15 feet, like off the thing into the lake and hit a backflip.
Wow. Jerry Swafford says he ain't going to let you drown and he can cook too. That's what people are saying about Gunner. Gunner, I know, Bear, I don't know you follow stats about Gunner, but I wrote about him this week. He has 49 touchdown passes this season.
He broke a record, right? I think.
Yeah, he broke a Trevor Lawrence record and a Deshaun Watson record. He has right around 245 career high school touchdowns. That's throwing the ball and running the ball. His average night as a high school guy this year, Bear, is 330 passing, 80 rushing, and about four and a half touchdowns every night.
It's crazy.
I don't think you're going to when Gunner eventually is the quarterback on the teams you're going to play at Georgia. I don't think the defense is going to need a lot of points. I don't think the defense is going to give them a lot of points, but I don't think the offense is going to need a lot of points.
Like N'Kobe Dean say, they shouldn't score. That's too many points. We're gonna be blowing people out the waters.
Bear, lots of people asking about your lifts. Do you have a lift that's your lift? Is it a squat? Is it a deadlift? Is it a clean? Is it a bench? What's one of those lifts that you take a lot of pride in?
Power cleaning, anything that got to do with Achilles, hip mobility. Like I like stretching more than anything. Like that beginning stretch before the lift.
Guys, I see a lot of people echoing something. They want me to ask Bob Sanders' question. So, can somebody repackage it, put it back together for me? I'd love to ask Bob Sanders' question. Frederick Smith wants to know, how many sacks do you have this year, Bear?
Yeah, he supposed to give us a stat sheet after the last game, but I gotta look at the stat sheet.
I know you got a bunch. I know I saw you have at least one. I know you had at least one sack with my own eyes. Another name that's at IMG Academy that I guess Georgia fans are already asking me questions about, I'm already writing about, and he's actually moving back home for his senior year, but Janelle. What type of player have you seen out of Janelle? He's a 5-star, kind of wired a lot like Kamari. What do you know about him?
Those two are identical. Those are the same people. They was roommates, so they on the same type of time. So Janelle is somebody that will come downhill and smack you at 100 miles per hour too. So they They get
I want
flies
to
around.
He does fly around. Bear, I want to ask this question from Bob Sanders and everybody else. It echoed him. They kind of helped us out here. They say you're such a nice guy, obviously very clear to see. Do you talk trash on the field? Does anybody talk trash with you on the field? What goes on in those trenches, man? What do you allow and what do you get down with?
I honestly want to say I get it the worst. Like I get it the worst. Like because I'm gonna make I'm gonna play tricks on the OC mind. So I can play anywhere from 0 through 5. So it's kind of hard seeing where I'm gonna come in at. And yeah, I get trash talked the most from the offensive lineman because it's like they have been game planning all week on how we're gonna stop him. And I think that's the hardest part. So they try to get in my head mentally.
Do you have anybody ask you like, "Hey, man, are you really a Bear? Come on, Bear." I mean, did they ever make a play off your nickname at all?
They make fun of the stars more than anything. And then just with us being IMG as a whole, so of course, they gotta feel bigger than what they is. But most of the teams are beat before they even get off the bus.
Bear, question. They wanted to know, was there anything that the Georgia fans or people did during your recruitment that really caught your attention about the program?
I mean, they made it feel like home. I mean, just sitting in the student section and talking to those people and seeing like what a day is like at school, and I mean, stadium is packed. Fans do a great job.
I remember you telling me. That you were really taken aback because you had decommitted and you wondered like how the Georgia people were going to treat you when you're at the Clemson game, and then everybody knew you and they treated you like family. That had to be a big moment for you, going back to that Clemson game in Charlotte, North Carolina, and wondering how these people are going to feel about me, and they let you know pretty quickly how they felt about you.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who you were, right?
Yes, sir. No, it was straight. Like that was a good feeling. Yeah.
What was it like when you came to that home game? I think I read your face pretty well when you were walking down the steps back into Sanford. What was that moment like for you?
Dude, it felt like I was back home. Like I had no idea they was gonna go out there and beat the heck out of them like that. I mean, they did, and talking to Coach Smart at halftime and him telling me like, man, we finna go ahead and beat them. I didn't see that coming.
Bear, I think one of the things that why this team is so strong this year is they have great leadership, whether it's Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis. Who are the guys that you see in this recruiting class, your 2022 class, that you feel will be great leaders for future Georgia teams?
Gunner, Michael, Jalen Walker. We all are leaders, I feel like.
Bear, question. This is kind of the big news of the day. It's kind of hit some folks pretty hard. Wants to know, did you listen to Young Dolph? And then how did that hit you today? That really sad news right there.
I mean, that's heartbreaking. Like any man that's taken away from his children when they're that young, like that's sad. So, I mean, leaving the store getting some cookies. I mean, come on, man. Like, you don't know what he was doing, right? He was getting those kids cookies today after school or what he had going. Like, he took that man's life at a vulnerable time. So, and that's sad.
Very sad. Bear, just a few more questions. Tyson Keever actually has a strong one here. Does the success of this year's defense add any pressure to your class to kind of keep things going? Is that something that comes to mind there?
What you mean, Joe? I'm sorry.
No, so obviously this team is balling. They're holding teams to 7 points per game. Does that create a standard for like maybe pressure for future Georgia defenses to live up to? Do you look at that as pressure or an obligation maybe?
Definitely not pressure. Like it sets a standard. So the expectation is to come out here and all 11 has fly to the football and everyone plays sound defense. Like hold them to 7 points. Like nothing changes.
Is there one guy's highlight tape that you've watched and you're like, man, I'm glad he's on my side?
Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, you guys both committed the same week. Did that come together as planning, or was that just kind of coincidence?
That was a coincidence.
Look at him, look at that
But
big
he
smile.
did kind of speed up the process on me coming back home. So
All those guys, right? All those guys coming to play with. Well, Bear, hey man, he just came out of a basketball game to hang out with us tonight.
yes,
Always got that big smile. He's got his camera fixed up all right. Bear, man, great spending some time with you. When guys commit and when guys recommit, we still want to have them here on Before the Hedges. I wanted one more thing, guys. I want to make sure. Let me know this. Follow this man if you haven't already on Instagram. Follow this man, the famous Big Bear. Follow the next great Georgia defensive lineman, dominator on Instagram at the famous Big Bear, and also at Bear Alexander _. That's his Twitter account right there. You got him working out on the beach right there, Bear. What was it like working out on the beach, man? I mean, I tell you what, you get there.
I'm grinding in paradise. Like that's not too many people get to do that where I'm from. So I take full advantage of it, and I go ahead and break a sweat in paradise.
Wow. On the average, Bear, how many doubles do you get?
A game,
Yeah.
I demand a double. So I would
Yeah.
say on average, on
Awesome. Awesome. I know you got doubled every time when you're in Texas. That's for sure.
do not leave me single fly.
Bear, man. Hey, appreciate you, man. We got about 30 more minutes to show. Really appreciate you letting us have you on tonight. Really appreciate a chance to talk to you. And thanks again so much.
All right. Appreciate you.
Take it easy, Bear.
See you.
All right, guys. Good first half of our show. That was Big Bear Alexander. It was really funny how sometimes we got these live shows and we want to stay really composed. We want to stay really, really streamlined. I was about maybe that far away from losing it a couple of times, just belly laughing with some of those comments. I made the mistake of trying to, man, that would have been great TV. It would have been a great Before the Hedges moment if we could have played if you could have played the audio for of Kirby at halftime in Florida and seen a recruit's first reaction to that tape live and in person. That's just what it is. Guys, if you've enjoyed this program, always remember, tell your friends about it, share it, like it on your social media accounts, wherever you're watching it, wherever you're catching it. Right now, this program is brought to you by Kroger. Each and every week, every Wednesday night, we're here Wednesday night live Before the Hedges, talking all things Georgia football and Georgia recruiting. Now makes the most sense for us to take a minute and pause for the cause, and that cause is another great message from Kroger.
We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but first, a quick word from Kroger. Kroger has made shopping for the groceries and household essential items that you need even easier by offering free pickup. Just shop online, choose a pickup time convenient for you, and Kroger will carefully pick out your order and bring it to your vehicle when you arrive. So the next time you're ready to shop at Kroger, take advantage of the free pickup. It's just another way that Kroger is fresh for everyone.
All right, guys, I'm going to do this. This is going to be live, some live stuff right here. I'm going to text him what you guys wanted him to see, and I'm going to try and see if I can get his reaction to that as well. Anyway, guys, we got Before the Hedges tonight, obviously brought to you by Kroger. Everything Georgia football recruiting. I guess I got to talk about the news of the day. The news of the day is Andre Green, the junior, made his commitment tonight, right about 6:30 or so. That was a commitment he made to North Carolina. Very interesting. He was on a live stream with CBS Sports, and what he did was he committed to North Carolina. He basically said that felt like home. It felt great. it felt like from the moment he stepped on campus, it felt like home. And so they're very interesting because like Clemson got the last visit, Georgia was in the final three, and that's what you saw right there. You saw top 10 receiver. I think he's going to be a brilliant player from North Carolina. It's one of those when you add Travis Shaw and then you have Josh Downs, you have Tony Grimes there. You got Drake Moye from the previous class at quarterback. Caught some attention. I noticed that A.J. Harris, the 5-star cornerback, was really intrigued by how North Carolina was able to add Andre Green Jr. to their class. Andre Green Jr. to the class. So that's what we got going on right now. Andre Green Jr. now, and it's very interesting. You guys just joined our show. I want to review that a little bit. So Big Bear Alexander is one of the things we're going to talk about in our show tonight. Was Big Bear Alexander was already on the horn, already on the phone, and he was talking to Evan Stewart. That's a guy. Some of the guys in the class were already dropping those dog emojis. Already very much trying to recruit 5-star wide receiver Evan Stewart out of Texas. Now he's out of Liberty High School. That's in Frisco, Texas. At one point, he was thought to be heading towards Florida. Another point, maybe Texas A&M was going to get him. Right now, the efforts are being made by the Georgia recruiting class to see if they can bring in Evan Stewart, 5-star wide receiver. I think that would probably take some of the sting out of losing Andre Green Jr. to North Carolina tonight, this evening. Very interesting there from Big Bear Alexander. The other news, I've kind of seen it a lot. People wanted us to talk a little bit about Tyree West. Tyree West is one of those guys that put in forum.DawgNation.com earlier today that's that one guy that I would think that his place in the class has been up and down a lot. He was a guy that committed, I think, last November, over a year ago. Good South Georgia defensive lineman out of Tifton, out of Tift County. Georgia continues to stack guys on the defensive line. Georgia still could potentially close with guys like Christian Miller. They've got Big Bear Alexander already, Michael Williams, Hero Canoe, another guy that I think Georgia is still in a mighty fine spot with right there. And just wonder about, Florida State is close by. It's a little bit more local. Now he's visiting again. He's visiting their practices. Be very interesting to see what happens there with Tyree West. Another thing to think about is so this is what my laugh is about. You wanted a first reaction from Bear. Well, I got a first reaction from Jeff. You saw it live. Bear just texted me his response to when he saw it, and he said, "That's my coach. That's my coach." At about 19 exclamation points. Certainly that was Big Bear approved right there. Sorry for the breaking protocol, but I literally saw that I'm on my laptop. iMessage popped up, and that was the message I got from Bear about what he thought when he saw that. For the first time, he heard the audio of Kirby Smart's leaked halftime speech, taking on those mighty Gators. Let's do this. We talked about Tyree West a little bit. I gave you a little bit of stuff there on Hero Canoe. Let's go to that top targets list. Let's go to that big board and see where Jeff is putting the guys at the big top targets for this week. We got 8 now this week, guys. Number 8 is Shamar Stewart. That's a guy, we talk about him all the time, top 10 prospect, defensive end, outside linebacker. Closest probably match to Shamar Stewart on the Georgia roster. I would go maybe Trayvon Walker, maybe a bigger Trayvon Walker. Number 7, Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. just put Georgia in his top 5. Georgia is expected to get that last official visit from Marvin Jones. You remember that one where Bear said he's going to be taking his official visit to Georgia on December the 12th? That's the one that Marvin Jones Jr. is expected to be at. Number 6, Shamar James, Mobile, Alabama. Shamar is also a former Florida commitment like Julian Humphrey as well. Certainly making a lot of interesting comments on social media regarding the Georgia Bulldogs. I want to pause this. Robert Barnes has a really good thought right here. Robert, I like this take. He says, "I wish I wouldn't make such a big deal about Kirby's halftime speech. That's a normal speech coming from a defensive coach. He didn't want his team to let up in the second half." I hate to tell you this, but, football coaches in locker rooms, they use salty language, and there's a reason why there's no swear jars in a locker room. That's for certain. Backing up, I think we got to I don't know, did we go through all the board? I think we went Shamar James, we went Shamar Stewart, Shamar James. The last one was Marvin Jones Jr. If we can flip back, I want to make sure I discuss the other top targets, maybe 5, 6. Thank you, Michael. Number 6 is Ernest Green III out of Bellflower, California. Really interesting story here. Everybody's wondering, does Georgia still have a chance? Is it Oklahoma? Is it Texas? Is it Georgia? Is it Ohio State? It was pretty funny. I got this, when I was reporting on the Hero Canoe visit, one of the things that came up is that Hero was at Ohio State the same time that Ernest Green III was at Ohio State. That was for their Scarlet game where they wore all red against Penn State. And Brandon Collier, which is the mentor trainer, the guy who discovered Hero Canoe in Germany, he was talking to the mother of Ernest Green III, and they were discussing their travel plans. And when she learned that Hero was going to be taking his official to Georgia in a couple of weeks, Ernest Green's mother basically told Canoe and his party that, you're going to love it there. Everybody has a great time there at Georgia. That Southern hospitality really rings true with Ernest Green III. Again, another top 50 interior offensive lineman. Might be a tackle starting out at Georgia, but I think his future, his bread and butter, would probably be made as a guard in college football as he makes his way onto Sundays. Now, moving on to number 4, that is Hero Canoe, the guy we just mentioned there. I've been told that the decision has not been made yet. One of the things that Hero Canoe is going to do is he's going to make the decision amongst his family. He's going to tell the coaches. He's going to make a silent commitment. I think the decision is right now down to 2 schools. And then what he's going to do, makes that silent commitment, and then he signs on early signing day, and then he keeps it all hush-hush until the announcement would take place on January the 8th out at the All-American Bowl out in Texas. Number 3 on the list is Jaheim Singletary, a guy that continues to show up in Athens. He was there for the Missouri game as well. I don't think Jaheim will be in Athens for the Charleston Southern game, especially a noon game. Couple of official visitors. I want to make sure I get their names mentioned. Deion Walker, he's a 4-star defensive tackle, right around a 300 player out of Cass Tech High School in Detroit, Michigan. He is on this list of other names to know. That's going to be an official visitor. Sean Washington out of Warren Easton High in New Orleans. I don't even think he's at Warren Easton anymore, but Sean Washington will also be taking his official visit to Georgia this weekend. Some other names there, Jake Pope, Shaz Preston. We put Evan Stewart there. A little bit more. Need to see a little bit more from Evan Stewart. Need to hear a little bit more from Evan Stewart before we move him up to the number 9 spot. I think a visit there is going to be really crucial for Evan Stewart. He had a couple of chances during June to go visit Georgia. Over the summer. He did not make that move. So for me, before I move him up on the top targets list, I need to see him take a visit to Georgia. Probably is going to happen in the month of December, but wait and see on that one right there. Obviously, if you want to have a good letdown news or some letdown information regarding the loss of Andre Green Jr. From this class, or I guess the official word that he's made his commitment, he's going to go play for North Carolina. It's good to have Evan Stewart now as a potential guy to rally to Georgia's 2022 class in the interim after that. Those are your names to know. Really, everybody wants to know a quick question. They want to know, Jeff, how many? I think Georgia can sign. I'm looking for them to sign right around 29 guys in this class, 28, 29 guys in this class. Demario Tolan is another name on that list out of Dr. Phillips High School. He's a guy that very likely could take his official visit to Georgia again this weekend. As far as timelines for decisions go, there's the 4-star defensive tackle Hero Canoe, January 8th. Christian Miller, the same thing. 5-star junior cornerback A.J. Harris. He could make his decision a little bit earlier than that if necessary, but he would likely take that thing out to January 11th of 2022. Another name, another 2023 name to watch. There's a couple of 2023 offensive linemen that have set their decisions for 2023, for 2022 as well, or late 2021. We'll be talking about those guys on DawgNation.com shortly. Let's see. We got the normal snapshot that we run each and every week. Georgia still remains the #1 class in the country. They currently have 2 5-stars committed. That's Malachi Starks and Mikael Williams. 10 guys on offense, 10 guys on defense. One of those is special teams. I think that's some remarkable symmetry there with what they have so far. 21 commitments so far in the class. The trend for this class, if you guys hadn't joined us in a while, that's what I'm doing a very good job of trying to highlight each and every week, is this is going to be a defensive slanted class. That's just the DNA of this class. There are currently 8 defensive players that are rated among Georgia's 12 highest rated commitments. So you guys want to know what that defense is going to look like? It's just going to continue to be a nasty unit on that side of the ball. Early look at top 23 top targets. We got some changes in this one, guys. Got some changes in this, guys. Jeremy, I see your question about spots total. I think they're going to sign about 28 or 29 guys in this class. I think they're going to try to give a scholarship to Dan Jackson. They're probably going to try to save and hold about 3 or 4 more slots for transfer portal players. But Caden Lee, he celebrated a birthday today. He's 17, the talented wide receiver out of Westlake High School. Number 9, he has made his first appearance on a 2023 top targets list. That is Reuben Owens II. Number 8 is Santana Fleming, a dazzling slot receiver out of American Heritage. Number 7, Justice Haynes out of Blessed Trinity in Roswell, Georgia. Justice is still alive in the state playoffs with his Titans. Number 6, a guy that moves up another notch, is Arch Manning out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Yep, it's that Arch Manning. He moves up another list, another rung on this list. I think what's happening there is you see Texas. Texas is kind of not holding serve in terms of being the program that, a guy like Arch Manning could take to very lofty heights in high school football. Number 5 is LT Overton, Levius LT Overton out of Milton, Georgia. Milton High School in Atlanta, Georgia. Metro Atlanta, Georgia. Number 4, a name we talked about with Big Bear Alexander. Do you remember what Big Bear Alexander had to say about Janelle Aguero? He's finishing out his junior year at IMG Academy, but he is moving back to St. James Catholic in Massachusetts for his senior year so he can play closer to family. Number 3, did you guys get to read that story about Suntarian Perkins out of Raleigh, Mississippi? The things he went through, choking on milk, passing out. He lives in a family of 15 and has just the brightest and most wonderful disposition you can imagine. Brilliant player. He's a nation's number 3 athlete. He's a top 60 overall player. He was at Georgia for the Missouri game as well. Number 2 is Malik Bryant out of IMG Academy. He already tells me that Georgia feels like home when he thinks about home. He's a 5-star in this class. And number 1, A.J. Harris out of Glenwood School in Phoenix City, Alabama. We mentioned A.J. Harris a little bit in the show, but he was one of those guys that took notice of North Carolina getting the commitment today from Andre Green Jr. as well. Those are your 2023 top targets. I think we've got a lot of things we want to show you that that showed up on the internet. I'm still laughing at this text. This is the first time I looked at my phone. There's so many exclamation points in this text message from Big Bear Alexander when he saw that. That is some crazy stuff. Let's pull up that photo again. Let me let you know. So that's Jonelle wearing number 7 right there. That's number 24, Kamari Wilson. That's from when they did their photo shoot for the Arkansas weekend. Those guys were all in town. Kamari had his official. Julian Humphrey had his official. Those 3 guys right there. That would be a prolific and electric potential Georgia secondary in the future if Mr. Wilson decides to sign with Georgia. Mr. Humphrey is committed to Georgia, and then Jonelle Aguero decides to join them as well. Interesting right there. There's your All-American right there. We had Big Bear Alexander on early in the show. Guys, did you hear that? I want to make sure we get this moment and we tee it up again. Big Bear Alexander worked at Kroger. He actually worked at Kroger while he was out in Texas. He helped with the online groceries. He kind of filled those orders right there. Very cool to have a future stalwart on the Georgia defensive line, noting that he was a former employee and he worked at Kroger. And, folks, there's nothing wrong with being a grocery store employee. That's what I was when I was in high school as well. I carried out groceries as well. I stocked shelves as well, filled up the milk cooler, unloaded trucks on Sunday mornings. We did it all. Big Bear Alexander, there's the All-American. Really cool that he got to experience his senior year. You guys heard in the interview what was maybe the change agent for why he decided to choose Georgia. And that was when he was declared ineligible in Texas for his senior year. He kind of felt like that was his state turning its back on him. And that's what really propelled him to come home to an already very cozy fit at the University of Georgia. Travis McCullough, look at you, man. You got another former grocery store employee as well. Raymond Cottrell. Now, I'm sure everybody's catching what Julian Humphrey is doing right now on social media, but so is Raymond Cottrell. That's the Florida flip from the 2023 class. That's a top 75 overall prospect at wide receiver. They're talking about that guy, TM. That is Tony Mitchell. That is another 5-star defensive back in the 2023 class. He's out of Thompson High School in Alabaster, Alabama. Raymond Cottrell, he was tweeting everybody. He's already working the phones, working social media, trying to get in guys' ear about joining him at Georgia. Raymond Cottrell is already doing a very good job right there for Georgia. Folks, this is retrospective, nostalgic, sentimental Jeff on November the 16th. So that was yesterday. If you felt a reason to celebrate, you felt a reason to enjoy, to imbibe, to indulge, whatever you want, whatever was your fancy, that was the 4-year anniversary of Jordan Davis making his commitment to Georgia. This is the tweet that he sent out when he committed. Look at this line right here. To Coach Scott, I thank you for everything, from you giving me my first offer at the University of North Carolina my sophomore year, to a kid who never played a down of high school football. And a very special thanks to the coaches who recruited me and treated my family with great generosity and respect. That sort of feels like it needs to be on a wall somewhere in somebody's Georgia room or in somebody's Georgia man cave right there, because that's a piece of Georgia football history right there. I think Jordan Davis is going to go down in this program's history with the same reverence as names like Walker, Roquan, Champ. I think Jordan Davis will be one of those guys that everybody will just say Big 99 or JD or just Jordan, and they'll know who they're talking about when it comes to Jordan Davis. Quite a legacy he is establishing and building and creating for himself at the University of Georgia. A lot of tweets here from Julian Humphrey this week. It's kind of funny. He's committed to Florida, really can't find an All-American game type home. He commits to Georgia. All of a sudden, bang, he's committed to the All-American Bowl. So many future Georgia Bulldogs that are going to play in All-American games. I was looking at the numbers this week. Here's something that maybe will wet your whistle a little bit. First of all, Georgia has 21 commitments in this 2022 class, Georgia has 21 commitments. Of those 21, 7 were committed to another school at another time. Very interesting that a third of the class has decommitted or flipped from another program, kind of when Georgia's interest ratcheted up. Very cool there. Julian Humphrey is going to be at the All-American Bowl. Guys like Jalen Walker, Big Bear Alexander, Kamari Wilson, those guys are going to be at the Under Armour All-American game. I'm going to be there in the busiest first 2 weeks of January of my life. And then a couple of other guys are going to be really the majority of the class is going to be at the All-American Bowl. That's the Adidas game on NBC out in Texas. A couple other things I want to show you from Julian Humphrey. Again, he calls himself Julio on social media. Number 1 team in the country and the number 1 recruiting class right there. Julian Humphrey kind of figures that. Look, he's working right now. Look at this. Come check us out, official Evan dog emoji. That is for Evan Stewart. We discussed it. We discussed him early in our program. Big Bear even mentioned it as well. Ed Pollock, we discussed Tyree West earlier in the show. Very tenuous right there. Folks, I want to bring you this update. If you guys want to say a prayer, you want to send well wishes to somebody on social media, send it to Marquise Groves Killebrew. He suffered a major knee injury, and again, while he was returning a punt against North Paulding High School. We'll have a story on that at DawgNation coming up in the morning. Very cool to see his perspective, to see how he's going to bounce back, how he's going to battle back, how he's going to fight back. Really cool story there from Marquise Groves Killebrew. Remember, he was the original OG commitment to Georgia in the 2022 class. There's Marvin Jones. He names his top 5 as well. Very interesting to see what's going on there. There's Alabama. He had a great visit to Alabama. Georgia still needs to get that important, impressive, impactful official visit in December. There's Texas A&M to consider here. Oklahoma. Lots of wild rumors going right now about Lincoln Riley and LSU. I think social media is ablaze with Lincoln Riley perhaps taking a major contract offer. All this is just Twitter stuff, the type of stuff that rumors and innuendo that gets a guy like Brandon Adams searching message boards and everything. But Lincoln Riley to LSU, that's kind of the noise right there out there, the white noise out there as well. Marvin Jones Jr., you got to also watch Florida State there. I did some checking on his story over the last 4 or 5 days or so. His dad was an all-time great linebacker at Florida State. Listen to this right here. This is from Blitz Sports Georgia. Kind of encapsulates Gunnar Stockton really well. Remember, I was talking to Bear about Gunnar. Not only can Gunnar flip burgers and jump off docks and do somersaults and stuff like that, he has 49 touchdowns against 1 interception this year during his senior year. Hope you guys saw the story on DawgNation this week about what Gunnar's doing in terms of cleaning up the locker room and doing a lot more than most would ever expect an All-American player to do. But he has the most total touchdowns, 244, the most passing touchdowns, 271. Those were Trevor Lawrence records and Deshaun Watson records right now. Most total yards from scrimming, that's rushing and throwing, rushing and passing. And now he's only 855 yards away from breaking Trevor Lawrence's all-time Georgia State record for the most passing yards for a career in Georgia high school football history. Another name I want to bring to your guys' attention was Caden McDonald. Folks, anytime a kid does this, he's going to show up on our show. He's going to show up on Before the Hedges. He's at North Gwinnett, really likes Georgia, Ohio State, Mississippi State, NC State, schools like that. Caden McDonald had 7 sacks in a Georgia high school football playoff game against South Forsyth. 7 sacks. 4-star defensive tackle. Georgia's been recruiting him hard. He really has strong feelings about the University of Georgia. I think those are all of our chatters. One more. We've got Jaden C. Wayne. Now, he's out of Washington. Tacoma, Washington, folks. There's some Keely Ringo roots there in Tacoma as well, but this is a 5-star defensive lineman, rated number 28 over in the country. He is coming over cross country this weekend to catch the Charleston Southern game. Jaden Wayne, a very impressive 5-star defensive lineman in the class of 2022. You want to know what, folks? Something that kind of blows my mind. The fact that Georgia has an official visitor from Detroit, an official visitor from New Orleans, an unofficial visitor from all the way out in Washington. You got guys coming in potentially, perhaps an official visitor in Demario Tolan, Demario out of Orlando, Florida. Folks, they're playing playing Charleston Southern, not even Georgia Southern, Charleston Southern. They're playing them for a noon game. And that's why Georgia is the show now. They're bringing in guys. It's not to see them play another good team. It's to see this generational, impactful Sunday guy, exclusive Georgia defense and everything else like that. That is a very impressive feat, guys that are coming in. Guys, you got any questions? I got a couple interviews I got to hit tonight really hard. A couple of those, and one of those is in a different time zone, but you guys got a question, anything I can answer for you tonight regarding Georgia football recruiting, I'll do my best to right now. Lucy Bowers Boykin. Yeah, that's really impressive. That's one of the things for me. An unofficial visit for a junior to come see Charleston Southern at noon. These are just things that we're not used to seeing. And I've been covering Georgia football recruiting like I needed it. I've been covering Georgia football recruiting nonstop for the last 6 years, and these are things that have never happened so far in my time covering the program. David Riddle wants to know when is Jaheim Singletary and Kamari Wilson committing? I would imagine one of those guys is going to be an early signing day guy. Perhaps one of those guys is going to wait until his All-American moment to make his decision. I do think one of those guys could pop sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, though. Mark Brantley makes a point that he thinks Pollock, Herschel, and JD sit in the category of their own. I would probably put Champ in there as well and Roquan in there as well. Barry Thornton the second. Good morning from China as well. Robbie Pearson, good question. Do I think Texas A&M gets the #1 class for 2022, or does Georgia hold on to that spot? I think it's going to be a battle between Georgia and Texas A&M late for both of those. The one thing that Texas A&M has going for it is they only have about 18 or 19 guys committed in the class. That's a couple fewer than both Georgia and Alabama. Interesting. I had some people, I want to make sure you guys notice this. Somebody brought up Hines Ward in the chat. And that's something I want to bring up. Hines Ward is now got promoted to Florida Atlantic University. He's now the wide receivers coach at Florida Atlantic. You give Hines Ward about 1 or 2 years of experience on the college level as a college coach, and all of a sudden he becomes a very interesting candidate. Because if Hines is already recruiting and coaching and he's an on-field coach, he's doing all that grind, and decided that's the life he wants in his post-professional football career, be very interesting. That would be, I would think the gravity and the inertia about Hines Ward, Kirby, and Georgia, I would think that eventually seems like it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Because if you tell me Hines Ward is going to be recruiting and working as a position coach in college football 4 or 5 years down the road, sooner or later, I think he will be awfully tempted to come home and do that for Georgia. Yeah, Tyson Keever. I don't know what he's got to take an official to Georgia. I don't think that will ever happen. But the kid was signing posters at FSU over the weekend. Anybody that wanted to have him sign anything, that was a great weekend for him at Florida State. He's really going to be the cover boy and the icon for the program once he arrives. Robert Barnes wants to know. He just wants to know how many silent commitments does Georgia have. Silent comments does Georgia have? I'm reading that as silent commitments. Silent commitments. I would say plural would be a good way to say that across multiple classes. Reginald Johnson has a question. Is there any outside chance of flipping one of the top defensive linemen like Walter Nolan or Travis Shaw? Actually, I don't think that's necessary, Reginald. I think with what Georgia is going to do in their pursuit of other defensive linemen, Marvin Jones Jr., Shamar Stewart, Hero Kanu, Christian Miller, all of those guys, I don't think Walter Nolan has been in the picture for Georgia for probably the last 2 months easily. And then and Travis Shaw is really the benchmark, the bell cow for North Carolina's class. He was one of the guys that was instrumental in helping to bring in Andre Green Jr. John William Adams, good question. I'm going to get Big Alou to get in on the hedges as well. One of the things we always try to do is we always try to bring in recent commitments. So if you notice, I've kind of been back in that game, stacking guys up like an Atlanta air traffic controller. We landed Jalen Walker last week. We landed Big Bear Alexander this week. I think my goal for the next 2 weeks is to get another name like Michael Williams or Julian Humphrey or Alou Ba, one of those guys to join us on Before the Hedges as well. All right, guys. It's been another Wednesday night. I want to say thanks to everybody for joining us. You guys do know that this becomes a podcast. If you missed any part of the show, you can go back and find it on YouTube, or you can go find it on your SoundCloud or your Spotify or your Apple Podcast platform. You get to hear me talk to Bear. I love the comments that everybody had tonight about asking him questions about trash talk. about what it was like hanging out with Gunner on the lake, and just what it feels like for him to be representing Georgia and what it means to him to be a Bulldog. I really enjoyed that conversation. It's great when you can talk to this young man and we don't have to dig down so deep about recruiting as much anymore. As well. Mike Mazzell wants to know, do I think the fans will see Brock Vandegrift this weekend? Yes, I think so as well. So follow it. This becomes a podcast later on. I want to thanks to everybody for joining us. We're going to have a bunch of stories up on DawgNation.com as always. I want to thank you guys for your time. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've gotten to know Big Bear Alexander a little bit better tonight as well. I hope you've gotten to learn a little bit more about Georgia recruiting today. I wanted to make sure I drop some intel, some information on you this evening as best that I can. Take care of yourselves. God bless everybody, and we'll see everybody again later on the pages of DawgNation.com.